Hey everybody, I'm JJ, watching Reality Survival. So, this morning got a alert that there was a 3-country power outage. France, parts of France, Spain, and Portugal. Widespread power outage is all it said initially, and that sort of made the hair go up on the back of my neck a little bit, because, you know, President Macron has been talking tough about, you know, backing Ukraine if the U.S. pulls out and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, damn, did Putin just launch a freaking tactical nuke, EMP, you know, over the top of France and Spain and Portugal or something? Just to kind of let people know he wasn't fucking around. That's not what happened. It sounds like it was just you know, some kind of power outage or whatever, and I only skimmed a few headlines. I really don't know what the exact cause is. The stuff I saw said that it was going to be back up in about 10 hours, and I don't know how many people were affected and all that, but it was just kind of a spooky moment there, you know, with the lack of information right at the outset, not knowing exactly what happened. And I mean, of course, my situation kind of sucks right now because we're in the middle of moving. So, you know, 3/4 of my stuff sitting in a storage facility in North Carolina, and I'm down in North Carolina taking this stuff down, and my wife and oldest or youngest son is up at home, and so we're all split up, and you know, geez, what a mess. You know, that would have been tough to deal with, but turns out that wasn't the case. You know, everything was good to go, but it was for me at least, and maybe other people took it differently. Maybe you had other access to information right up front, and it wasn't any big deal. It was the first time in my life that I can remember when I was like, oh shit, there might be something going on here. You know, there might be nukes flying. It's like, shit's getting real. I had one other time when I was out in Wyoming. I got a call. It was a prank call in the end, but it was this official sounding message saying that, you know, I don't know how many it was, 10 nuclear missiles had been launched or whatever, and you have so many minutes to head for cover and all this kind of crap, and you know, it had DHS sounds on it, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it was for about a minute and a half. I was like, ooh, that's kind of scary. But anyway, with the power outage and everything, I was like, well, geez, a power outage that scale, like, the only thing that comes to mind, and maybe that's because I'm a prepper, is an EMP being one, some kind of a big cyber attack being two, or some sort of coronal mass ejection. And I hadn't been tracking, and I don't normally, unless I see something, you know, come across my emails or whatever, any big CMEs or whatever. I'm sure Suspicious Observer or somebody is probably tracking if that's, you know, if it was something to do with that, but I hadn't heard of it. So kind of an interesting feeling, thinking about the fact that we still do live in a time when shit could pop off. Like, it could, you know, like, you just don't know. Even though we don't, you know, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of immediate escalation right now. You know, Trump starts talking yesterday about Iran, and you know, he's like, hey, if they don't come to the table and do a deal, we will lead the charge into Iran, like, to the war against Iran. Which I don't like hearing that. I don't like hearing that at all, because, you know, an air campaign is one thing, relatively easy and relatively low cost, you know, politically and militarily and in terms of human resources and lives and everything like that, we could launch an air campaign and, you know, cause a lot of problems for them and make it tough for them to rebuild and all that kind of thing. But the way Trump kind of made it sound was like he would lead the charge and we would go in there, like with Iraq, Syria, all these other things, Afghanistan and everything. We don't want that. It ain't that we couldn't do it if the gloves were taken off, but it's that nobody ever lets us take the gloves off. So the Persian terrain is even more forbidding than Afghanistan, and they have lived there for so long, and they have such a network of tunnels and shelters, and oh my god, it would just be a fucking insurgency nightmare. Now, luckily, the people are more pro-Western. There's a large segment of the population that's more pro-Western. Not all, obviously, but I don't think we want to do that. I don't think we want to go in, and I hope that Trump doesn't do that. That there's a lot of people, I don't know, the people who are worried about the technocracy. If you guys listen to the podcast Geopolitics and Empire, those guys, you know, are very worried about the coming technocracy, and I think that they have some legitimate concerns. They have been saying for a while, and I don't know who the person is really. I just listen to the podcast occasionally, but they've been talking about how they really fear that, based on the people who are around Trump, that, you know, he's kind of a central character in this whole coming technocracy thing. And with the connections that he has to Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and, you know, JD Vance and all that, there's a whole, you know, a whole history with all those guys and the companies that they have with Palantir and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, there's at least some legitimacy to the claims that they have. So I don't know if it goes all the way to what they're saying, but we should certainly be skeptical anyway. Anyway, I don't know. We could talk more about the whole technocracy thing if you guys are interested in that. It is an interesting concept, and there are certainly breadcrumbs and kind of trails here and there that make it appear as though that's kind of what we're headed for, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, but who knows. Anyway, while I'm on this topic, I guess it would make sense to just remind you guys, if you're not prepared for an EMP, if, you know, things start flying, one of the things that you can do if you've got your basic preps covered is get an EMP shield for your house and for your vehicles. And vehicle install, super easy. I've got several videos on it. The micros are a little bit more expensive, but they take up a lot less space and they're really easy to mount in your car. I mean, we're talking about a 15-minute install. It's super easy. They'll work on any regular 12-volt vehicle. They don't work on electric vehicles, though. But, and then your house install, you need to have a working knowledge of understanding how a panel, you know, an electrical panel on your house is wired and laid out. If you're comfortable changing a breaker, not just turning a breaker, but changing out a breaker, then you could probably do the install yourself on the house one as well. If not, charge an electrician an hour of labor, and they'll come and you know, they'll do the install for you. It's not going to cost much at all, but then at least your house and your vehicles are protected. That way your appliances and everything that you have plugged into your home network grid, you know, your home electrical grid, are protected. And that's important, because if you have power generation to be able to support your own power or create your own power, then you can still use all the appliances and the lights and the different things and stuff like that inside your house. So it's just a good thing to do if you're kind of wondering, like, man, what should I be doing? I've got my basic food covered, I've got my water, I've got my self-defense, like, what's next? What should I, you got your medical and all that kind of stuff. Look at starting to, protect your house from EMPs. We certainly live in a world where it's possible. It's probably more possible now than it's ever been in a long time for some sort of a crazy situation like that to happen. It's also going to protect it from CMEs, from coronal mass ejections, as well as lightning. So it's not a bad thing to do if you are trying to become more prepared. So all you got to do is go to empshield.com, pick out the products you want, put in the discount code Reality Survival when you check out, and that will save you $50 per unit. So if you got a couple of vehicles, you need one for your house, you need one for your bug out location or whatever, they've got them for solar panels. I've showed videos on those, how to install that. They've got them for battery banks. They got them for just about every application. So check it out. It's empshield.com. And before I go, I also want to tell you about Patriot Protect. It's Patriot-Protect. They're a new company here in America, and what they specialize in is removing your personal information from about 130 different data brokers. And again, you can use the discount code Reality Survival over there to save some money. Identity theft, scammers, all those kinds of things. There is a ton of ways that your information can be used for nefarious purposes. And this goes out and intentionally makes efforts to remove all of your information from as many places as possible. And so it helps you to be a little more anonymous. You can't ever be fully anonymous, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not even a real possibility. But you can make your information more difficult to find, and that is why I think this is a great thing for people to do. So check them out at patriot-protect.com. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I'm headed back north. Hopefully we only got one more load and we're done. I looked at a house today that I think we might put an offer on. Nice little place. It's on 5 acres. It's kind of half field, half woods. It's out in a rural setting. We could shoot on the property. We can, it'll be a real nice area, real nice spot. If we end up putting an offer, there's a few things I got to work out, but we'll see. But anyhow, that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you saw the power outage this morning and what you thought when you first saw it. Because maybe I'm crazy, but for me, it just kind of made me think about this. I was like, I don't know. I even called my wife and I was like, hey, we need to be watching this and seeing what they're saying about it. Like, this could be a bad situation. But anyway, all right, I'm out of here. Take care, guys.